Hi guys, so it's a test day for the TR4 transmission and overdrive, because the overdrive has been rebuilt already. So now I'm gonna fill it up with oil, I'm gonna close this cover and then we're gonna test it. First we have to change the switches on top for the cutoff switches, because they are not good on this one. We bought new ones, so we're gonna change those. We're gonna see if electrical everything works, and then we're gonna spin it with the motor and we're gonna see if the overdrive is gonna disengage, if it's gonna make any weird noises and things like that. So let's start. So first we're gonna fill it up with oil. I'm using this SAE 30 non-detergent oil, and there was a discussion the other day in the comments section about what kind of oil needs to be used in the overdrives, and I know many people have different opinions about that. Some suggest automatic transmission fluid, some suggest engine oil, 20W50. The manual calls for 80W90, I think, gear oil. Well, I don't know. I read an article about that, and I'm gonna put a link to that article actually. Basically, the conclusion from that article is that any of this is right, so I'm not too much worried about it. Now, I can see where the level is, but I'm gonna have to tilt it now because probably there's no oil in the overdrive now. So I'm gonna have to tip it on one side to make sure that there's oil going inside the overdrive. And it went way lower than where it was, so. Okay, so we are good now. It's somewhere here, so I would say 1 3/4 of a liter. And now I can close the cover. And now I'm going to move it to the other side so I can show you something. So now when you're installing this cover, obviously you have to match these two forks into the slots. But also, very important, this is the lever for the reverse. So this one has to match this. And if you don't match these two, you won't be able to assemble it. But this one, even if you don't match it, there is a position of it in which you can still assemble the cover. So you have to make sure that this goes inside here. Otherwise you're not going to have a reverse gear. Okay. Yeah, don't over tighten these because they're going into the aluminum casing and it's very easy to be stripped. So now these cut-off switches, I'm gonna replace them because this one is broken anyways. I think Carlos tried to solder this one, the end, because it was broken. This one, it probably works, but I'm gonna change them both to make sure that everything is fine there. And then we have to redo the whole wiring. Oh, this one was even loose. This one obviously wasn't. So we've got new fiber washers for here. I'm going to connect the ground on side of them first. So I'm going to do that first, and I'm going to actually show you the whole schematics of the wiring, so you know, for those of you who don't know, so you know what actually are we doing here with the wiring. So we have this wire hooked up to the casing on this side, so we have ground, and we ground one side of both switches. Doesn't really matter which one. This one of the two sides. I'm going to bend this a little. So here I have jumper wires, and I'm going to hook one side to the negative of the battery. This is my test battery, and the other side of this I'm going to connect to the cover. So now we have ground. I can put my test light here, ground and power, and now my test light can show me both ground and power. Usually the test lights come with only one terminal, but mine is with two terminals, so if I touch ground it shows me green light, if I touch power it shows me red light. So now I should have ground here. So I have ground anywhere on the casing. So I should have ground also on these sides of the switches, but not on this side. Yeah, because they are in off position now, both of the switches. So I can test them now. I can see if I go in second, I think this is the second gear switch. Yes, when I turn to second, I get ground on the other side of the switch. When I go to neutral or any other gear, I don't have anything. Let's go even in reverse. Yeah, so this switch works well. Let's check the other one. Now we don't have anything here in second, anything in first, anything in neutral, but in third we have light, and in fourth we have light. Of course, nothing in reverse. Okay, so the switches themselves work well. Perfect. So now I'm gonna show you quickly a schematic of the whole wiring here, so you know how we put everything together. So, how does the whole system work? We have a solenoid, right, with its plunger underneath, and this solenoid is grounded because it's mounted to the casing, so it has ground on one side, and then it has a little wire sticking out of it, right? We have a battery which is grounded on one side. What else do we have? We have a relay. This relay has W1, W2, C1, C2, and even it has C3, I think, but it's not used in our case. And we have the column switch, of course. How does a relay work? The relay actually it's a switch between C1 and C2 which breaks a circuit, and this switch is operated electrically by energizing the winding which is between W1 and W2. So when you energize it, the C1 and C2 close. When you cut the power to W1 or W2, the switch between C1 and C2 cuts off. So obviously our solenoid is going to be connected to C2, and we need power going to C1. That's it. So when this switch closes, the solenoid clicks and engages the overdrive. How do we control this switch? With the W1 and W2. So also we have the two switches that we just tested, right? So they are normally open. What we just did, we grounded one side of these switches, right? So for the W1, it's getting power through the ignition switch. So that's our ignition switch here. So when we turn the key on, in the on position, in the ignition position, then this side of the winding gets energized. And it's only looking for ground on the other side. And as soon as we connect it to ground, this switch closes and that energizes the solenoid and it clicks. So how do we do that? We connect one of these sides to the column switch and the other side goes to this side of the two switches, cut-off switches. So this is our, let's say, second gear. That's third and fourth gear switch. So what happens now? If our column switch is in the off position, of course this circuit will never close and it will be always off. If we turn the column switch on, this is gonna close. But if we are not on second or third or fourth gear, these two switches will be in off position and we still don't have ground to ground this part of the winding. When we turn the transmission into second gear, this circuit closes here and now we have ground to our W2 side of the winding. And when we turn to third or fourth, this switch is gonna close and then we are again grounded here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 switches that control the winding on the relay. And we have only one switch that controls the solenoid. So that's it. If one of these two is closed and we have the ignition on, then we can control the on and off position of the overdrive from the steering column circuit. So that's basically the whole situation. So what we did just now, we did this part of the circuit. For our test stand here, we don't need this part of the circuit at all. Or we don't need this part of the circuit at all here. We're gonna just energize the solenoid and it's gonna click on and off. We already know that our switches work normally, so for our test now, we only need this. Okay, so next we're gonna have to, now this motor, yeah, its bearing is not very good, but it's gonna work for our purpose here. So this motor needs to be turning in this direction, counterclockwise direction. So we're gonna okay, the front end needs to be clamped too. So I removed the plug from the operating valve, but I still have the bowl, the plunger and the spring inside. And now I'm gonna put this pressure gauge, which I got from J. Holkamp. I'm gonna put a link here or in the description below to show his website where he sells them online, but that was a very good investment. I think it costs me like 50 American dollars, not sure how much I paid, but that's a very good investment. So obviously you need to go on the other side so you can see the pressure, but since you're gonna go on the other side, I'm gonna show you for the first test. I'm gonna operate the valve from here with this lever because the solenoid is still not adjusted, so that's how am I gonna operate the valve. When it is in this position, it's off. When it's in this position, this direction there, it's on. So now for the first test, I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna put it in off position, and now I'm gonna move you to the other side so you can see the pressure. Now, because this is gonna be the very first test, the very first spin of this gearbox, probably it's gonna take some time for the pressure to build up because there's air in the system. So the pressure is still down. It started going up now. Okay, good. And it stopped at, what is that? That's about 320. We're looking at the red numbers, but that's about 320, 330 psi, and it needs to be about 400. Let me show you the whole thing around. And I forgot to say we are in neutral, right? So it's nice and quiet in neutral. The noise that you hear is actually from this motor, because one of its bearings is not very good, but it's good enough for what we're doing. The motor itself is 1740 RPM. So with this reduction, I'm guessing we are about 1300 here on this side, because this pulley is a little bit bigger than that one. But yeah, I'm gonna let it run for a while so it warms up and kicks all the air out. Maybe when we operate the valve a couple of times, it's gonna kick some more air out. So we will see. Okay, let me put you again on the tripod and we'll start playing with it. Okay, now I'm gonna operate the valve manually and we will see what happens. It went down and came back up. And I can hear difference in the noise that the overdrive makes, so it is engaged, but I didn't hear the clunk inside. Oh, now I heard it. Okay, now it's disengaged. Now I'm gonna engage it again. Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna turn it off now. I'm gonna switch to fourth gear. I'm gonna turn it on again, and then we're gonna watch this shaft here and see how it spins. Now it's in neutral, so I can stop it. But when I put it in fourth gear, then it's gonna spin very fast, and I will see how it changes when we turn the overdrive on. So now it is in fourth gear, and I'm gonna turn it on again. Okay, so now it spins very fast. Let me engage the overdrive, and we will see if the RPMs are gonna drop here visually. I don't know if you saw it, but I literally saw the RPMs dropping down. Let me disengage it again. You see, now they went high. Okay, I let it run for a while. I wanted it to get to the normal temperature, normal operating temperature, and it warmed up good. I think that's the normal operating temperature because it's running already for 10 minutes and it's pretty warm. Not hot, but warm. And the pressure though is still at 320. So I went and read the manual again, and it said that the target actually is between 350 and 370 psi, and I think we are pretty close to that. I'm not going to do anything about the pressure because I think it's enough to operate the valve well. There is, for the pressure, there are a couple of reasons that it can be low. One of them is the bows. I'm getting new bows for the two valves with some more parts that I ordered for the other overdrive, so when they come I'm gonna change the bows and we will see how it goes. But if the bows are not the problem, then there's this big spring behind this, you know, for the accumulator, and this big spring sometimes it loses its strength, and by adding some washers, some shims behind the end of the spring, that increases a little bit its strength and increases pressure. I'm not really sure that I want to do that. I might just leave it as it is because 330, 320, 330 is pretty close to 350, so I think I'm gonna leave it as it is. So now we can do the adjustment, because now here this is still loose, you see? It's not adjusted yet. So now we're gonna do the adjustment. I'm gonna explain how I... Actually, the adjustment itself is material enough for a full video, and this one is way too long already, so I'm gonna cut it here, and I promise that very soon I'm gonna upload the other one. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you later.